Now, in a move to quell nearly 2 weeks of anti-government protests in Ecuador, the South American country has announced cuts to prices of gasoline and diesel by 10 cents a gallon. Now, this concession aims to end the violent protests in which at least 6 people have died. Demonstrations by largely indigenous protesters began on the 13th of June. They demanded lower fuel and food prices. Now, in October last year, prices for gasoline were frozen at $2.55 a gallon and diesel at $1.90 a gallon. The high prices had set off an initial series of protests. The government met with indigenous groups this weekend, and now after the reduction, gasoline extra will now cost $2.45 per gallon, while diesel will cost $1.80. The prices for both are still higher than requested by the protesters.
Por esto, he decidido reducir el precio de la gasolina extra y Ecopaís en 10 centavos por galón y el diésel también en 10 centavos por galón. Los ecuatorianos que buscan el diálogo encontrarán un gobierno con la mano extendida. Los que buscan el caos, la violencia y el terrorismo, toda la fuerza de la ley.
Now, the protests, which are also against rising living costs, have crippled transportation in Ecuador. The Confederation of Indigenous Nationals has been blocking roads, occupying oil wells in different parts of the country. Roadblocks were set up in 19 of the oil-rich country's 24 provinces because of road blockades and vandalism linked to protests. Now, Ecuador's oil production has fallen by more than half. The country's energy ministry warned that oil production had reached a critical level and that could be halted entirely within 48 hours if the protests and roadblocks continued. Now, Ecuador's economy, it's highly dependent on oil revenue. 65% of the output exported in the first 4 months of 2022. The public oil sector, private producers of flours and dairy products, tourism and other businesses, they've lost about $500 million. Overall losses since the protests began include 8.5 million litres of milk worth $13 million, as well as $90 million in agricultural goods and livestock. The tourism industry has seen cancellations rise to 80%, with losses amounting to at least $50 million. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.